ends the basketball career of LA Lakers star Magic Johnson. Catherine Cryer is off today. I'm Frank Sesno. This is The World Today. His name says it all, Magic Johnson, and he was certainly magic on the basketball court. The LA Lakers star kept basketball fans entertained for 12 seasons with his basketball sleight of hand and his trademark smile. Now that brilliant career is apparently being cut short. There is expected to be an announcement any time now that Magic Johnson has tested positive for the AIDS virus. This is the room in Inglewood, California, where the news conference is expected to take place shortly, and we'll bring you that news conference as soon as it happens. Mike Cowman is standing by there now live. Mike, what do you know?
Well, we're in the Forum Club at the Great Western Forum. This is the home of the Lakers, and as you can see, it is packed wall to wall and out into the hall with members of the media. In fact, they just came in a short time ago and made an announcement that all non-media members must leave, so that cleared out a few people. The press conference set to get way momentarily. This news has rocked Southern California today. Reports earlier in the day that Magic Johnson would be having a press conference at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Los Angeles local time, and that the news from that conference would be that Magic has tested HIV positive, that he'll be announcing his retirement this afternoon. Magic's been out of the Lakers lineup since almost the end of the preseason. He was sent back from Salt Lake City at the Lakers' final preseason game with what was called an unspecified illness. He's missed the first 3 regular season games with the Lakers, and a couple days after he got back from Utah, the Lakers reported that it was flu. He was suffering flu symptoms, dehydration, weakness. He was given the okay to practice earlier this week. On Monday, he went back to practice, complained of problems with his stamina, just that he was weak. Some reference was made to that he might be losing some weight, but he hadn't checked it, he said, because he was afraid to find out how much weight he had lost. The other night, he sat on the bench in his warm-ups as the Lakers hosted the Clippers here. There's been a lot of speculation surrounding his absence from the team, and early this morning, word started to get out that there'd be a press conference this afternoon, and here we are waiting.
Mike, we'd like to ask you to stand by, but our Jim Huber is with us as well in the studio in Atlanta. And Jim, I'm wondering if we could turn to you now while we wait for this to talk a little bit about Magic Johnson, what he represented and what he accomplished in his 12 years in the NBA.
Frank, his accomplishments were enormous. He was not only an extremely talented young man and an electric personality, but he was a champion as well. He brought the Los Angeles Lakers some 5 championships in the decade of the 80s. He did everything that was asked of him and so much more. So many athletes come into the NBA and they look good, they play well, they are responsive, they draw great crowds, but they don't produce what they're paid to produce, and that's titles. And Magic Johnson certainly did that from his times at Michigan State when they won the NCAA title to the 5 titles that the Lakers won over the years there. He did so much more than that. He was responsible for raising some $5 million over the years in his summer all-star basketball games for the United Negro College Fund. He was influential in the community. He was an idol for all of the kids growing up who watched him and said that if that young man can, so can I. He just gave so much to the game. The game was in a bit of a disarray when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came out of college in 1979, and they are both being credited over the years with having turned the NBA into a very, very successful and viable operation right now. Frank?
Jim Huber and Mike Cowman will come back to you, and we will come back to this news conference live when it happens. We are expecting it any time now. Once again, the announcement expected to be that Magic Johnson is ending his 12-year career in the NBA because of the AIDS virus. Now we'll move on to some other news that we have for you. In the meantime, in this news conference we've been talking about throughout the day, where he is expected to announce his retirement from professional basketball because he has apparently tested positive for the AIDS virus. We take you then to Inglewood, California, and Magic Johnson.
First of all, let me say good get after late afternoon. Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today. I just want to make clear, first of all, that I do not have the AIDS disease, because I know a lot of you want to know that, but the HIV virus. My wife is fine. She's negative, so no problem with her. I plan on going on, living for a long time, bugging you guys like I've always have. So you'll see me around. I plan on being with the Lakers in the league. Hopefully David will have me for a while. And going on with my life. And I guess now I get to enjoy some of the other sides of living that because of the season and the long practices and so on. I just want to say that I'm going to miss playing, and I will now become a spokesman for the HIV virus, because I want people and young people to realize that they can practice safe sex. And, you know, sometimes you're a little naive about it and you think it could never happen to you. You only thought it could happen to, you know, other people and so on and on. And it has happened, but I'm going to deal with it, and my life will go on. And I will be here enjoying the Laker games and all the other NBA games around the country. So life is going to go on for me, and I'm going to be a happy man. Now, medical questions that you have to direct them to Dr. Melman, and he can answer all those questions for you. Anything concerning the Lakers and so on, we have Jerry West here, I'm sure. Of course, the league, you have our commissioner, who I want to thank. I want to thank everybody up here, as well as my teammates, because they've been behind me all the way. I want to thank Kareem for coming out, him and Coop, who we stood side by side and won a lot of battles. Larry Drew, another good friend of mine who I played with. But the commissioner, David Stern, has been great in supporting me, and I will go on and hopefully work with the league and help in any way that I can. I want to thank also Jerry West for all he's done, Dr. Curlin, Dr. Melman, who he'll tell you who my other doctors are that have helped me through this, as well as, like I said, my father, in a sense, Dr. Jerry Buss, for, you know, just drafting me and me being here. Now, of course, I will miss the battles and the wars, and I will miss you guys, but life goes on. Now, any other questions medical-wise, you can ask, like I said, Dr. Melman, anything with the Lakers, Jerry West, or anything with the league. If I take a few questions about myself and my plans.
Can you describe for us, this has been your life, Michigan State, the Lakers, emotionally for you right now, knowing that this part of your life is over, how do you deal with it, and how do you deal with mortality, which becomes more apparent with this virus?
Well, I think mortality is I always wanted to be, after it was over, just live a normal life anyway. And, you know, now my life will change, no question about it, but I think I'll still be a part of the game with working with the Lakers, working with the league, and as I do that, then I hopefully still own a team. Basketball will still be a part of my life. I told Coop and Kareem, both of them, a while ago, that I'll be calling them to play them one-on-one, and we'll have some fun that way. I just won't be a part of the Lakers.
Can you give us a special message over your biggest fans, the kids?
Well, no question. For the kids, that's why I am going to be a spokesman for this HIV virus, because I want them to understand that safe sex is the way to go. I think sometimes we think, well, only gay people can get it, only, well, it's not going to happen to me. And here I am saying that it can happen to anybody, even me, Magic Johnson, it can happen to. So, yes, I will be going out telling them. I'll be speaking more to a lot of groups around the country about this.
When did you know? When did you know?
Well, Wednesday, so that's yesterday.
Can you take any idea on how you acquired the virus?
No, we'll get into that medically through the doctors, okay?
How do you feel physically right now?
I feel really good. I feel great. A part of my life is gone, but my wife is healthy. That's great, and we're going to go on.
What are your immediate plans? You going to stay with the Lakers?
We're going to talk about that. Dr. Buss has said if I want to stay, I can stay. I'll talk to Commissioner Stern here, and hopefully I'll be with the league too. But those plans I don't know right now. It's going to take some time, just see which way I want to go. I will be still pursuing my dream of owning a team, that's for sure. And,
Magic, when did you take the test and are all NBA players supposed to take it?
Well, I took the test only because of a life insurance policy, and that's what happened. And they kind of thought something was wrong. They didn't know quite what it was, so that's why we've been going through all these tests, and then finally yesterday.
Was it?
I can't remember the exact date, but it's
None of this was looked at before because you talked about having the flu and all the other tests that you
Right. They didn't find anything as far as anything in terms of the flu or anything wrong, but they just kept testing, you see. And
new life insurance policy.
right.
Have you had a chance to talk to your colleagues like Larry Bird?
Yeah, Larry called. I made sure that I called Larry, Michael, Isaiah, the guys who I'm close with, as well as my old teammates and my current teammates. And I talked to Coach Riley, a lot of people I've talked to already, just to let them know.
How do you affect the Hollywood or celebrity community and their response to AIDS?
Well, I think that everybody will be more careful. That's what I want to preach, and for everybody to understand that they just have to be more careful.
Do you have something to say to your fans?
Well, I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss coming in at 5 o'clock. I'm going to miss saying hello to the security people when I first get there, then the ushers. Then I get to see most of you about 6 o'clock. Oh, man. Magic, what about this? What about that? What about the team? I'll miss that. I'll miss the battles and the wars. But most of all, what I'll miss is the camaraderie that I had with the guys, being one of the fellas.
Had you ever been tested before?
Well, we've been tested, and it was negative before, so. You know. But let me say this: my mom and dad is fine. They very supportive. My whole family, just like I want everybody to be. This is not like my life is over, because it's not. I'm gonna live on. Everything is still the same. I can work out. Now, I just be like one of the old timers in a sense,
What about the Olympics?
Yeah, my strength is fine. I can work out and do everything a normal person can do. I just have to, take medication and go from there. Okay, I'm sorry.
The human emotion, this is such a tough illness to deal with, or even virus. Are you scared right now?
No. If I was, what you have to do is it's another challenge, another chapter in my life that it's like being, your back is against the wall. And I think that you just have to come out swinging, and I'm swinging. Only thing I can do is have a bright side. If I slip, then it might be over. If I'm down, if it's out, I can't be like that. I never have been. That's why I'm telling you now, today. That's why I'm here right now. And that's why I'm going to be a spokesman for the virus, because I want other players to be tested, because I think they should, because a lot of people, if it hadn't been for that life insurance, I wouldn't have known. And just the everyday person, the same thing. And that's why I'm going to be a spokesman for it, because I think a lot of people should test themselves and also practice safe sex, this whole thing. Now, I'm going to go and let the doctors or whoever else you want to have questions for. I've appreciated all of you. Mitch, we go way back. Jim, Stu Nahan, all the people that when I first came in as a rookie gave me all the good advice and helped me out, and I really appreciate that. Now you just have me on a different side now. You may be interviewing me in like Dr. Buss's office, so as soon as he move out, I'm gonna move in. But I am gonna go on, I'm gonna beat it, and I'm gonna have fun. Okay, so thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Are there any questions for Dr. Melman?
Yes. Can you explain what exactly has happened to Johnson and how it affects his life?
Irvin Johnson has been infected with the HIV virus. He does not have AIDS. The HIV virus is something that over years can and does impair an individual's immune system, which is what we all have to defend against other illnesses. So there's no immediate effect on his life other than we have advised him to avoid those activities which can further impair his immune system, which is playing professional basketball. He is not, contrary to what has been stated, he is not and does not have AIDS.
Could he play in the Olympics, doctor?
The issue is very straightforward. Irvin Johnson has been infected with the AIDS virus. He is not ill in any way. ARC or ARC, which some people have heard of, is simply a continuum from the viral infection to illnesses that occur later on. He does not have that.
Now, doctor, how does HIV exacerbate the condition? Explain that.
Well, the rigors of playing professional basketball, to include significant exhaustion on a regular basis, alterations of normal dietary and activity habits may impair an individual's immune system. And since this disease also does that, the medical judgment is for Irvin to not continue that. That is not normal activity that we describe in the everyday person. Very few of us go through what he goes through in the course of a basketball season, and that's the best I can say at this point.
What is the prognosis, doctor? What is the prognosis for complete recovery from this virus?
The timeline of AIDS virus infection to further problems is now being described. Some people last a decade or longer before they get ill. Some people get ill very quickly. We have Irvin at one point in time in a very healthy state. There is no way to give you a prognosis that is accurate at this point other than to say that he is healthy now, we expect him to remain healthy, and we expect to have him around for a long time.
Can't play in the Olympic Games, right?
That's up to him.
What is the medication?
The issue of treatment is being examined at this point. There are a number of people that will be involved that will help decide that, and I suspect that will be known in the future.
What type of medication?
That is treatment.
What type of medication is
There are a number of medications available that can be used to treat the AIDS virus infection. In fact, we have Dr. Hayes from UCLA at the far left, and I think she is more qualified to address those issues if you'd like. And Dr. Hayes, if you had something that you'd like to say.
The type of medication?
Well, I have no knowledge of the kind of medication that Mr. Johnson is taking, but right at the present time in the treatment of HIV disease, the medications that we have are very important in prolonging life and making quality of life better. And at a stage when someone is HIV positive, at a certain stage, depending on other parameters that are measured, we can provide treatment that's helpful. I don't know enough about Mr. Johnson's clinical case because Dr. Melman is his physician, but so I don't know whether he will be taking any medication, but I can say for someone who's HIV positive, like Mr. Johnson, and there is a lot of options for treatment and help to prolong life.
Dr. Melman, has Magic authorized you to discuss how he contracted the disease?
No. Yeah, the answer is that I don't believe we know at this point specifically.
Dr. Melvin, why is it released that he had the flu and obviously he didn't?
He wasn't feeling well, and we were trying to investigate the situation. A lot of times in trying to define the medical status of an individual, we are not able to know by looking at them what is going on or what is the situation at hand. That delves more into his personal health, which I don't think is something that I'd like to discuss in a public forum.
Nick, in your cases of HIV that don't go into full-blown AIDS, right? I mean, people can live with it for a while, right?
Dr. Hayes?
That's absolutely right. There are cases of HIV that go for many, many years before developing the symptoms of AIDS, and we don't really know how many years any individual can go once they become HIV positive. That isn't known and one can't predict.
But eventually they do develop the symptoms.
We can't even say that because everyone who's HIV positive hasn't been followed long enough to know whether they eventually develop the symptoms. And we hope with the therapies that are available now, we may be able to very greatly prolong the development of those symptoms.
Is he on medication now?
He is not now on medication.
Have you considered ACT or DDI?
We will be discussing that with him in the future.
Could you speculate on the impact that somebody coming forward like Magic Johnson and saying he has HIV could have on the public perception of the disease?
I think what we have witnessed today is a courageous act by a very special man. He is not compelled by any legal descriptions or legal requirements to disclose what he has disclosed today. He is not a person who is invisible, and because of his presence, because of his potential impact on society, with a situation that is not only serious but for which we are all at risk, I think that he should not only be commended but held as a modern-day hero. And I hope that we, in our activities and the impact that it has on us, reflect that. This is a very, very special person and a very, very special admission.
I'd like to echo the doctor's statement on that. When Magic understood that he was HIV positive, this was something he very much wanted to do in terms of going public with it, because of all of the work he's done with kids, because of all of the work he's done with the community. And he asked for the support of his teammates, the Lakers, and the league. And I think what the doctor has said is true. Everybody said this is a very courageous, heroic person and a heroic act. And we all pledged our support to him in his effort to go out and work, especially amongst kids, in detailing, what has to be done and what precautions should be taken.
Dr. Melman, where and when was the test administered, and where and when did you tell him that he was HIV?
I'd prefer not to comment on those issues.
You can't tell us when it was yesterday? That he found out? He said it was yesterday?
He's already described when he found out the final results, which was yesterday, and I think that's enough.
You can't tell us all the tests administered?
I have no further comments on that topic.
Can you tell me what this is going to mean to the NBA?
Really, I think what this means to the NBA is that another one of our really idols and attention getters has indicated that he's human. Something has happened to him which can happen to anybody. Everybody is at risk. And by invoking the NBA and his teammates and all players to deliver the messages that Magic is intent on delivering, I think that we can find something positive out of a very terrible situation.
Commissioner, do all teams test for AIDS, or would you like to see that?
No, Magic was tested in connection with an insurance policy. All matters of testing are a subject to be discussed between the NBA and its Players Association, and that's the way we deal with that, and that's the way we'll deal with this subject. But for today, the emphasis is on Irvin Johnson.
Dr. Melman, was this discovered by the life insurance test or by the test you did in reaction to the latest illness?
The initial concern was as a result of tests performed as part of a life insurance policy, and then further studies and confirmation were performed by myself and with Irvin's consent.
Okay, without it being his life, can you give us just a time frame of that? When was the first test come back from the insurance company?
I honestly don't know the date of that. I don't.
Roughly?
It's been over the last couple of weeks.
Dr. Melman said he was suffering from fatigue. Could you tell us what the symptoms were? What complaints he may have had before the test?
I think in general he was just tired and not feeling well, and I don't want anyone to take away from that he is ill in any way, that it was not part of what we ultimately discovered. That was something coincidental.
Dr. Melman, what impact will this have on his participation in the Olympics?
That was asked earlier. I think the issue is that Irvin Johnson has not been advised to play professional basketball, and I think that the level of competition and participation in the Olympics is similar to that. And so I think that those are parallel concerns and restrictions that we would offer.
As you are part of the announcement today,
That's something we'll discuss with our Players Association. All that we're worried about today is Magic Johnson and the support he's asked us to give him.
Jerry West, what does this mean for the Lakers roster?
Well, obviously, this comes as a huge shock to us. I think when you're trying to find out the condition of a player, obviously you assume that player is going to be back. And to be real candid with you, I haven't even thought about it. Obviously, it's devastating for us from a personnel standpoint. And I think particularly emotionally, for a lot of us, it's a very difficult thing.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much.
And so Magic Johnson's doctors and his coaches and those who know him adding their comments to this thing. The doctor pointing out very explicitly that Magic Johnson has the HIV virus but does not yet have or show symptoms of the disease, that he is healthy at this point. The doctor's also saying, however, that it is unknown as to exactly how long one can go in this day and age with the medications available before developing further complications. Still smiling, remarkably poised, and showing clearly that he is not at this time scared, Magic Johnson came forth himself to make this announcement, saying, "It has happened, but I'm going to deal with it, and my life will go on." Magic Johnson saying that he now intends to become a spokesman for the HIV condition and for safe sex, urging all those for whom he is an idol to recognize that this can happen to anybody. We will hear from Jim Huber and more on the life and times of Magic Johnson when The World Today continues. Announcing just a short time ago that he is suffering from the HIV virus, that he will retire from professional basketball, become a spokesman for the cause and for the cause of safe sex. Says Magic Johnson, "My life is going to go on, and I will be a happy man." A characteristic introspective into Magic Johnson. And Jim Huber joins us now to tell us what Magic Johnson has been all about, both on and off the court. Jim.
He has been all about greatness, Frank, and so devastatingly and selfishly, to be sure, we must now give Magic Johnson back. For over a decade, he has not been just a showman, not just an entertainer, but a champion at every level, one of those rare athletes who has then transcended mere sport to take his place on a much higher plane. If there was ever the perfect nickname for an athlete like Irvin Johnson, it was Magic, for he was that and just so much more. From his days in the 70s as an undergraduate at Michigan State, where he led the Spartans to the national championship, to just a month ago when he stunned Paris in an exhibition game with the Lakers, he produced from up an imaginary sleeve absolute brilliance. And because of that, he had an immediate impact on the NBA. He and Larry Bird came into the league on the very same day in 1979 and are generally credited with being the architects of the NBA's great rebirth. For openers, that a man 6'9" could play point guard was unthinkable. And play it with the kind of zest that Magic Johnson nightly displayed took that a step farther into incredulity. With that dazzling smile of his, he would cut down the lane, put opponents on their seats, and pull fans off theirs. And from opening day a dozen years ago, basketball was never again to be the same. His Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA championship his rookie year, and they won 4 more in the decade to follow. He was the league's most valuable player in 1987, 89, and 90. All-NBA every season from 83 on. The all-time NBA assists leader. He had not played in any of the Lakers' first 3 games of this season, suffering from what the team called dehydration from the flu, which he reportedly picked up while in Paris on that preseason tour. Irvin Johnson, NCAA champion, 5-time NBA champion, but just magic. A very special man. Let's go back to the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California, and our Michael Kamen is with the NBA commissioner. Mike?
Jim, a very, very special man, a very special basketball player. Commissioner David Stern came to Los Angeles today for this shocking announcement. Commissioner, we kind of have an idea of what Magic Johnson meant to the NBA. What does the loss of Magic Johnson mean?
Well, one of the greatest players ever to play the game won't be playing it anymore. It's been his decade. But even in this very sad announcement, as extraordinary as he is, he's put the positive gloss on the things he wants to do because he has tested positive and he wants to spend his time talking to kids, telling them that you can't pretend that this is something that isn't going to happen to you. But less on a basketball and more on a personal basis. This is a very sad thing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He was such a special basketball player, but he was so much more than that. As an ambassador of basketball, you just saw what the crowds that he attracted in France.
Well, he is and will continue to be that. And it's our sense, although we're not expert in these matters, although we're going to learn a lot more now than we ever thought we would need to know, that the emotional surge that the entire NBA family is going to experience in getting behind Magic and his efforts, both to talk and to fight this thing itself, is going to be important, and we're with him.
One thing that impressed me in this press conference with hundreds of members of the media here, he was in the room.
It's just more extraordinary Magic.
Talk about the personal side for you. You and Magic Johnson are very close friends.
I've never been commissioner without him, and there's just been nobody who has been willing to do for all of basketball, for media, for kids, for fans, any more than Magic has been willing to do, with good humor and patience and that twinkle in his eye. And it was extraordinary even today to see him here making this terribly sad announcement, telling the assembled media not to worry. And I just hope that kind of attitude is going to see him through some very potentially difficult times.
All right, thank you. Commissioner David Stern, who was in Los Angeles today for Magic Johnson's retirement announcement. We'll miss him as a basketball player, but as he told all of us, don't get the idea that we're going to miss him because he's going to be around. Jim?
Michael, thank you. Of course, the NBA does now begin to dust itself off, clear its collective head, and respond to the sadness. Former Lakers coach Pat Riley, who coached Magic for so many years, held a press conference in New York minutes ago. Others far and wide are offering their thoughts on him.
It's one of disbelief and shock, and we've all heard about the disease and the impact of it, and it's just unbelievable.
I spent some time with him in the summertime at home, and I was coaching in his 3-on-3 tournament over in Hawaii this summer, and got to be that was a big big thrill for me, and to hear something like what I heard today, so it's going to take a big toll.
Puts a lot of things in perspective. I think you all of a sudden you start feeling bad that your ankle hurts a little bit and stuff. It's really a tragedy. I mean, the guy is not only been such a great player, but he's been such a great ambassador for the game and everything else. It's just my heart goes out to him. I think all you can do now is just everything in the best way they can.
We all do that. The reigning NBA Michael was reached at his home in Chicago today. To quote him, "I was shocked when I heard about it. I can't believe it. I have to have some time to think about it." We will continue throughout the evening here on CNN to document this story, and of course, as always, wrap it all up for you on CNN Sports Tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And the World Today will continue right after this.